And just like that, we are live for another Mental Man Monday live stream. Can you believe it? You should. I ain't a liar. But what I can say is about this, I'm excited because y'all been super consistent today, y'all. First of all, I went to sleep at like 4 o'clock last night. I woke up today right late, so around like 9. And then when I woke up, I went to do a little work, went to the gym, came back or whatever. I ain't taking no nap today. But guess what I did do? I recorded an upcoming episode for the podcast. I was on a podcast call with this coaching team that I'm on because I'm a podcast coach for his team. And now I'm here with y'all on a live stream Monday. Any other time, I probably would have tried to cancel today. But I ain't canceled today. So just getting that content in. And like I said, prepare to see me on the bulks recording episodes in bulk. Also, you're gonna see the upcoming episode with this shirt on. The episode won't drop for a few weeks, so don't be trying to call me dirty if you see me with the same shirt on because I recorded it today and I done kept this shirt on for 3 different events. All right. So today's episode is gonna be great. Another Mental Man Monday live stream with a great guest. Like I said, I try to keep these guests. Try to keep most. I only had one woman so far. I want to keep women to a minimum because it's Mental Man Monday live stream. But all the men have been drastically different, and that's the point. So to help us today talk about some things that's going on in the world and the state of men and culture, and somebody who's I was actually on the platform a few months ago now, right? And we needed to exchange a collab, so he's on here for my Mental Man Monday live stream. So let me go ahead and introduce him right now. What's going on?
Oh, nothing much. How you doing, Izzy?
I'm good. I'm good. What you got going?
Well, man, I have a lot of stuff going, especially with my book and my podcast. But I am so excited to be on yours, and I thank you for the collab.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. So obviously, YouTube people can see, but because we're gonna stream this live stream audio on all my platforms, can you tell the people what's your name, where you from, and where do you live?
Okay, my name is Sakoni Prince of SakoniPrince.com, where we make motivation personal by introducing you to yourself. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, which I currently live there, and I've actually had an opportunity to write several books and also create a podcast about healing your inner child. My book is entitled Heal, Help Elevate and Learn, and it's a guide for healing your inner child.
Okay, okay, good stuff. So today we're gonna be talking about a few things, but first, my most recent episode, getting a lot of good views on YouTube. The numbers are going up daily at this point, and it was one that was recorded at the beginning of August, and the one about, as I titled it, "Men Are Weak," and talked about how men can overcome being weak, and we broke down what a weak man was,
Right,
and from different angles, featuring Deshaun Jackson, who
right.
was like I said, great interviewee, I guess, right?
Right.
So did you get a chance to listen to watch that episode?
Actually, I did, and very informative. And just hear his backstory and his history, even the situation, in fact, with him being kind of told to stay in his lane and being challenged on his job. But I know that was fuel to his fire, in fact, for him to go and do what he's doing now. So yeah, I definitely had a chance to watch it.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you. So it's funny because if you peeped, I asked, I had to, you have with these interviews, you have to know when to ask the right questions on the spot. I said, what was the gender of the person that asked? Because I knew it was a white woman. I knew it was.
Right,
I
right,
just knew it. He didn't even. I just knew it. I said, "Can you tell me what the gender was?" And then when he explained, that's okay. And even then, he didn't say, but he said it,
right.
and it was just interesting to just really attack. So real quick, we talked about the red pill community. Are you familiar with the red pill community?
Now I saw that on the that description, but no, I'm not familiar with it.
So the red pill community are a community of men who are now. I get, you know how something you get like why somebody might have done something, but then it just kind of turns into just something crazy. So I actually follow and keep up with a few influencers and YouTubers and content creators who actually are red pillars. There's the red pill and there's the blue pill. Typically, we're gonna just for the conversation, we're gonna keep it brief. But the red pill are those that believe in like, okay, I'll say this. You know how there's clearly an attack on men. We can see that.
Right,
And there's one where the man is either extremely weak, feminine, feminized, set like extremely, and then it's the other version of the men who are the women only should speak when spoken to.
Right.
You only add value to me as a man. It's okay for me to have sex with everybody. As a woman, if you have sex with all these men or have had, or you had a past, you don't have any value. Like those type of men. That's
Right.
the red pill community.
Right.
Basically, we can do, the man does this, and this. Women don't do. It's basically like that. Very, toxic masculinity. Although
Right. Right.
some argue that that isn't a real term, but that kind of what it is. So that's
Okay.
who the red pill is, and I just wanted to talk about that because a lot of times I feel as though they get away. Well, they really don't get away with murder, but it's just like society has made that. I get why they do it. I'm gonna say that because it is to combat the other side of the attack on masculinity, but then in the same breath, it's almost as if men are, you know, men are supposed to be superior to women, superior, like that. You're beneath me. You're not next to me. You're beneath me. That type of mindset. And
Uh,
so, you know, the whole divorce it's a lot. But long story short, I wanted to talk about that, and we'll be talking about that soon again. Um, but I was happy just to see that with this episode about men being weak and the state of men, that we have to understand things won't change unless we change them. And
true.
a lot, and a lot of views and perspectives that are normalized actually are problematic. And
Right.
so I want to continue to push content that challenges the norm and challenges, men who don't have discipline and who will, you can't stay with one woman. I think that's weak. Like that's something we've normalized. Like it's a man, if he cheats, it's okay. That's just what men do. And it's like, that's a
Right.
lack of discipline. You don't have any discipline. You can't control yourself. You know,
Right.
excessive corn use, gotta say that. Excessive porn use, excessive, vices, alcohol, drugs, all these things that we've curated and use as vices. And the point of that episode was to really attack that and to show that that is a problem. So yeah, now I know you're not, like I said, I'm a little more, in this modern view of
Okay.
life. But what is your take on it as someone who has been married, who had, a little more seasoned in the game, based on that description of that community?
Well, I think there has to be a definite balance that we all have to achieve. And that's one of the reasons why my slogan, like I start off saying, I'm Sakoni Prince of SakoniPrince.com, where we make motivation personal by introducing you to yourself. And I think a lot of people have really yet to fully understand and embrace who they are. And it's because of their insecurities that they find themselves trying to overcompensate, men or women, and so that's where the toxicity comes in at. When your insecurities show up in different ages and different stages of your life, and they don't allow you to be harmonious in the environment, in fact, that you're in. When you don't know who you are, anything can stop you. But once you know who you are, nothing can. And so I try to help people understand their own self worth and their self value so that they don't have to put somebody down for them to feel better, but they don't also have to think that they're not worth being worms food. And so, again, I believe that there's a balance that we have to achieve because it's in that balance that we can really work best and show up as the best version of ourselves.
Definitely, definitely. And that's something we definitely want to touch on as in the episodes to come. Even with this week's episode, I'm going to be tackling a topic that I think is needed, and it's one about, it was, I actually seen a meme, and it said that 85% of the things that we think are gonna that we fear never even happen.
Right.
The world has, social media, the media just in general has made, we're going through a mental warfare. And I think that we tend to panic. We tend to live in a state of fear. Like I said, if you still watch the news, y'all don't watch the news like that. Or if you do it in micro dosages, because you will go crazy if you sit up with the news on all day.
Yes.
My grandmother sits up with the news on all day.
Right.
And she always says, I'm just so nervous. I'm like, because you got the news on. So,
Right. Right.
there's ways to be informed in dosages. So we're going to really break that down and also give my take on Halloween on and the episode drops on Thursday, which is Halloween. So I'll be giving my um my take on Halloween from many different angles and
Okay.
a brief conversation. All right, so now we have two topics we're going to talk about today. The first one we're going to talk about is rapper Lil Durk. So rapper Lil Durk has been caught as he put a hit out on another rapper, Quando Rondo, and we're going to watch this quick little video and then we're going to give our take on it. So let me share my screen and let's get to going with this clip because I have a lot to say.
Okay.
Lil Durk was given the keys to Chicago by the mayor and hosted a prayer event in the city. And less than a week later, the feds arrested him for hiring shooters to kill Quando Rondo. Durk was about to fly to Italy and try to escape the situation, but then he got busted by the feds and now could be facing the death penalty or a RICO. And today we're breaking down why Lil Durk could get locked up for life. On October 24th, news broke that 3 OTF affiliates and 2 other dudes have been arrested for killing Quando Rondo's cousin, Lil Pa, back in 2022. Cuz, Didi, Flocka, Brown Eyes, and Boogie were all hit with charges for murder for hire, committing fraud for hire resulting in death, and carrying and discharging firearms and a machine gun. According to the indictment, after King Von was killed by Quando Rondo's homie Lil Tim in 2020, someone in OTF put a bag on Quando's head. The first documents that came out didn't have Durk's name listed, but it's allegedly been confirmed that he's listed as co-conspirator 1. And according to the paperwork, Durk made clear in coded language that he would pay anyone who took out Quando Rondo after Lil Tim killed Von. And besides handing out some cash for the hit, the paperwork also says Durk was offering the shooters a deal with OTF too. The paperwork says that Cuz used an OTF credit card and bought plane tickets to fly the rest of the shooters out to California. Cuz was in Miami at the time. He took a private jet to LA and met up with everyone else there. The OTF dudes got the info that Quando was staying at a hotel in LA, and they jumped into action as soon as they got his location. When Cuz landed in LA, he booked a room at the Universal City Hotel, and that's where he handed out guns to the rest of the group. Cuz also rented a white BMW and a white sedan, and those are the whips that the shooters used to track Quando down when he was riding around the city with his sister and his cousin Lil Pop. They allegedly followed Quando around for 2 days, and then they decided to pull the hit off when he parked at a gas station on Beverly Boulevard. Boogie drove his whip into an alley behind the gas station and parked, and that's when Flocka, Brown Eyes, and another shooter that wasn't named in the documents got out and walked up on Quando's whip and started letting off shots. Quando and his sister both made it out of the situation alive and without getting hit, but Lil Pop was killed at the scene, and Quando was.
All right, so we're going to stop that there. All right, so now let's give our take on this. Let me go into the first segment today, which is what does this have to do with mental health? All right, so just because we have to play devil's advocate, I'm going to first start off with the clear, problem here. Talking about Lil Durk, who now is facing possibly life in jail for this situation, trying to put a hit out on somebody, and we have to really just look at this from the mental health angle of this generation doesn't let things go. Back in my parents' days and older generation, it's like if you had a fight with somebody or issue with somebody, that was the end of it. Whoever won, whoever lost, that was the end of it. This generation doesn't let anything go. Now, granted, Lil Durk, who is the cousin of King Von, who was killed years ago, never let that go when he's trying to get the people back who got his people. It's unfortunate because these types of situations never end. And I hate to go biblical, but there's a verse that says there's no peace for the wicked. And I feel as though if we continue to put out wicked things, if we continue to keep, trying to play the get back game, the generation loves to get my lick back. I'm gonna get you. It never ends. It never ends. What's your take on that?
Well, I definitely believe that we need to spend more time understanding what real value is. Value is life. It's being able to be alive. As you were talking, I thought about, the movie Fridays, and where, when the father told the son to say, if back in my day, these how we solved your problems. You win some and you lose some, but you live to fight another day. And, in fact, nowadays, there is no conflict resolution. I had this opportunity, there's a local judge here. In fact, we were at a networking event and I had my youngest son with me. He's actually 17 now. And the judge, and I'm truly appreciative to him because he talked to my son and he said, you know what you're learning from your dad at home? You're learning conflict resolution. You're learning how to work through a situation without being, just going full tilt, without just, it's either on or off, it's either alive or dead. And I really appreciated him for pointing that out because that's exactly what I've been doing. helping my children understand the importance of knowing their own value. Because I don't care what somebody call you or say about you. If you don't know who you are, you will be susceptible to whatever they call you. And I remember, in fact, Tyler Perry had in one of his plays, it's not what they call you, but what you answer to. And if you know who you are, you won't answer to certain things, and you won't put yourself in certain situations like this that's going to jeopardize your future, and not just your future, but the future of those people who truly love you.
Do you believe that today's music has a lot to do with some of these ideologies and behaviors of the people of today?
Oh, yes, yes, I do. Because if you have yet to be able to distinguish between entertainment and reality, you will honestly think that this is the way these guys live their lives 24/7, 365. And that is not the case. They are there to sell records. But see, that's where I believe, in fact, the parents, they have a role to play in helping the child to understand what's fantasy and what's reality. I mean, in fact, we can watch Transformers. I grew up, in fact, watching the cartoons in the 80s. I know it. I know it's not real. Now they have some pretty realistic and I mean looking movies out there, but I
Right.
know it's entertainment. It's not real. And even with the music, we have to make sure that our children understand. And my pastor says he actually preached a message several years ago. He said, "You can play the music, but don't let the music play you." What he was saying was, you need to understand these people are their job is to sell music. And they do that sometimes by elaborating, sometimes by lying about stuff, sensationalizing stuff. But don't buy into that as this is like this is real life and this is reality, because it's not.
But that's the thing because it's the same for the men and the women. Like these rappers portray those lifestyles of I'm killing, stealing. Now, of course, obviously in Lil Durk's case, he's actually trying to get it done. But
Right.
some of these people even now who promote their lifestyle, these might have been things they did in back in the day, but they tell in the music as if it's present. So then that way you're now listening and things speak to your subconscious and you constantly replaying those things and eventually you're going to want to act that out.
Right.
So it's only a matter of time, and it's
Right.
unfortunate because so many people think this is normal. And, that's why we've now coined the term, another social media term, YN, which stands for young, you can fill in
Right.
the rest. And
Right.
those who are the ones wearing the ski mask and taking pictures with the guns and gang signs and stealing Hyundais and no, what's the Kia boys? They're stealing the Kias and all of just the crazy stuff that they do. And I've had some students when I was teaching that was like that. And I used to be like, what y'all doing? So
Yeah. Yeah.
WWID, what would I do in this situation? So I can't tell you because I wouldn't be in this situation. But I will say from this angle, I'm gonna say because I'm not gonna try to get nobody killed, unalived. Got to say that. But what I will say is, you know, the tongue is sharp. The Bible says the tongue is sharp. It can
Mm.
kill, right? So although I may have not tried to get nobody unalived, we can sometimes unalive people with our tongues as far as their reputation, as far
Right.
as how people see them, as far as even just tearing them down with things that we say. And I
Right.
think that we're all victims of that. So although no, I may not try to unalive nobody at this time in my, unalive nobody. I think that if you do it verbally, technically by God's standards, you know better. So what's your take on that verbally?
Well, again, and I keep holding the mirror up to everybody that I meet, because if you have if you have a view of yourself that is whole and healthy, then you can tend to do that with other people. We talk about the Bible and scriptures where it says, "Love your neighbor as you love yourself." And that's one of the things that I really believe, that we are suffering from a lack of self love. And I mean, the type of love that doesn't put myself as being someone who is better than someone, but knowing that I'm just as valuable as everybody else. Because if I can see my value, I can see your value as well. But if I can't see my own value, how can I see yours? If I don't care what happens to me, how can I care what happened to you? And so, even with our tongue, even with how we talk, we have to make sure that we are representing who we are, even in the presence of other people. Because again, you can literally get somebody killed by telling or by lying on them or by painting them as somebody who could be dangerous, and they aren't. I remember, and this was a couple of years ago, during the height of the pandemic, and in fact, it was somewhere in the Midwest, and they had stopped this vehicle, and there was a helicopter above, and in fact, the lady asked the guy to get out of the vehicle, and he got out with his hands up. And the guy in the helicopter said, "Yeah, he looks like a bad dude." You can't even see the guy's face. You don't even know him, but you have projected that image onto him as he's a dangerous threat. So we have to be careful how we label people and what we say about folks, because that can tend to actually cause people's opinions to sway, and they are swayed based on what we feel, which may or may not be true.
Let's go on to the next segment. WWJD, what would Jesus do? So, realistically, he wouldn't get nobody killed. And it was a case where he could have, because remember when he was caught and they were about to arrest him, and I think was it Peter that took out
Peter,
and was about
yep,
to fight the other? He was like, don't
cutting
even
off
do it.
ears and stuff.
Right, yeah. He was like, don't even do it. So in this situation, it's real short. He wouldn't have done that. He would have just, you know, he would have. There's ways you can defend yourself without necessarily fighting back. I think I've learned recently, as someone who used to constantly defend themselves, to go to I went the other extreme of I'm just won't say anything. There's a way to rightfully defend yourself. And
Right.
unfortunately, in this case where someone is being unalived, and if you did, unalive a family member of mine, a close family member, your flesh may want to say, I want to get revenge and get them back. But I
Right.
can't get out of my face and go do that to you, because then, what's the verse that says when you do an evil, evil never leaves your house. So now we're seeing they are the product of this danger
Right.
going back and forth. It's never going in. So
Right.
the only way it'll end is if somebody just says, you know what, wave the white flag and it'll be over with. So
Right.
I think that needs to be done in some way. If not, it'll just gonna keep going. Nothing's gonna change.
Right. I think we always need to be the example of what we want other people, in fact, to see, because it's so easy to tell folks, well, you should do this and you should do that, but then when they look at you, okay, so what are you doing?
Right.
And so that's one of the reasons why uh, personal development, in fact, to me, is so important, because I tell people no matter where you go, you're there. And if you never develop as a person, you take the same thinking from one job to the next, one relationship to the next, from one business to the next. And in this situation, if you are always fighting for what you feel is your own definition, if you're always trying to prove it to someone else, don't just say it, be it. This story is told about this guy. He was walking around the house talking about, I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. And it's like, who are you trying to convince? Are you trying to convince? Just be the man. Stop talking about it and just be it.
Right.
And that's what we have to do. We have to model and be what it is we know ourselves to be. And that means we have to spend some time getting to know who we are and what we bring to the table.
Definitely. And so before we go to the final discussion, let's end off this segment with WSMD, which is what should men do in this situation. I mean, I pretty much just going to reiterate what he said about personal development and just understanding that you're going to eventually have to let stuff go, because if you keep it going, it'll never end. Sometimes you have to be the bigger person, even if you're not wrong. What I'm saying? If somebody unalived your cousin and that was your close cousin, you could, you could go back and forth, but at some point you have to do something where you say, you know what, I'm going to just have to let this ride, because I believe, that God will handle it. I do believe that. It may not be when you want it to, but it'll happen eventually. And you hate to, and it sounds like a lot, but you have to get so. The issue is, what needs to be done is we need to find ways to redirect that anger to something else versus just harping on it and just just sitting in it all day long and trying to get this person back and trying to do this because it's easy to just get your lick back. No, you gonna pay for this. It just you'll drive yourself crazy.
That is so, so true. And I remember hearing of a study, and this was actually done by an atheist, but he talked about the benefits of having some form of religious or spirituality as a part of your life, because he was saying that what happens when you don't trust in God or when you don't trust in something bigger than yourselves, you feel that I have to do everything myself. It falls on me. Everything's in my hand. If it's going to change, I got to change it. And I even hate to say it, but even on the political front, it's that same fragmentality which causes people to fight tooth and nail for every little inch of everything that they do, and they become less tolerant of somebody else's opinion. If you don't believe what I believe, if you don't talk the way I talk, if you don't come from where I come from, then you're my enemy, and that's not the case. And so, even like you said earlier about, like trusting in God, if we factor that into our existence, if we make that a standard and a model for even our young people, then they don't have to fight for every little thing. They'll realize even somebody who's trying to disrespect them is considered a source. Consider where it's coming from. Consider how they feel about themselves to where they're trying to bring me down. If you're going to bring me down, that means you're already beneath me anyway. Okay. Yeah. And I remember hearing Steve Harvey saying no one above him ever talked about him. Mm-hmm. No one above him ever tried to bring him down. It's only the people that are beneath him that's trying to pull and bring him down. And so if we understand our position, it helps us to not only live that, but to also model it for other people and help them understand, I don't care what they say. Do you know who you are? Forget what other people say. Understand and know your own value. And some stuff ain't worth fighting for. Some stuff ain't worth losing your lives for. You can get another pair of shoes. You can get another car, another watch. Don't allow temporal things to cause you to make a permanent decision.
Right, and I'm gonna say this and go to the next segment. But I'll talk. Remember, Cindy Trim, Dr. Cindy Trim made a comment on one of her sermons, and she said, "What did she say?" She said, "Stop worrying about who don't like you. Do you like you?" And a lot of times, people don't have an answer to that. They really don't know. All right, so now let's get into the final conversation for today, which this one is a little lighter, but I still want to talk about it because I found it kind of interesting. So, Dwayne Wade had a statue for him, and the statue didn't look nothing like him. So we're gonna watch this. This is on E. They gave their take on it, and just kind of, I want y'all to look at it, and I have a lot to say about it. So let me share my screen, and let's get to watching that.
Today about Dwayne Wade's new statue. After the former NBA player was honored by the Miami Heat with a bronze statue outside of Kaseya Center, making him the first on the team to earn a figure in front of the team arena. Fans of the athlete share their disappointment with the artwork and are calling for it to be remade. In the comment section of the unveiling video posted by the Miami Heat, one user writes, "That does not look anything like Dwayne Wade. Heat, get your money back." And another replies, "Remake the statue. This ain't right." And while his fans might not be too impressed with the statue, Dwayne still shares his excitement for the high honor. Writing on his Instagram story, "This kid from the south side of Chicago will forever be cemented in stone in Miami." In another IG story, fans can see that Dwayne was actually part of the sculpting process, as he's seen working with the artist of timeless creation on the face of his statue, which was the most contentious part of the figure for fans. E! News has reached out to reps for Dwayne, the Miami Heat, and Timeless Creations for comment, but has not yet heard back. Dwayne started his basketball career playing for the Miami Heat in 2003. Throughout his time in the NBA, he played 14 seasons for the team until he ultimately retired from the sport in 2019. While speaking on the Miami Heat's YouTube series, Inside the Heat, Dwayne reflected on his legendary career and stepping into a new chapter after basketball.
All right, so let's get into this first. All right, now I'm gonna try to keep my opinion just based on the statue and not Dwayne Wade in general. I'm gonna try, but we'll see. All right, what does this have to do with mental health? So first of all, I think Dwayne, first of all, is more caught up in the fact that he has a statue and this is a high honor, and he might say it doesn't look exactly like me, but I think he's more so like, just happy. Helena said this statue look a mess. It do. But I think that he's more so in his mind, like, I'm just happy to be honored. Like, you know how some of those people, like, I'm gonna put myself on blast. So there was this podcast competition that I was a part of, and it was over hundreds, 500 submissions or whatever to win this thing. I had got an email saying that I made it to the top 10. And I ended up getting a final email that says, you know, we didn't go further with you to the finals. And I was okay with that because I'm like, well, I'm just happy I made that far out of all of these podcasts. And then I looked at the competition, and these were all pretty good podcasts. So, you know, I'm like, if I'm losing to them, it's like, hey, that's cool. But it was just, he was just happy to be honored. So let's just keep it there. Do you feel that, okay, so somebody made a statue of you and it didn't look like you, how would you feel? Would you just be happy to be honored, or would you get caught up in it doesn't look like you?
Well, I'm thinking about representation, and because it's a statue, it's going to be there for years to come. And I would think that somebody would want to make sure that the resemblance was as close as possible. And you know, to me, it's just called quality. It's called quality control. You know, somebody who is near and dear to the person should have, you know, been able to look at it, you know, before the unveiling and actually say, yeah, that, you know, in fact, there's some more work to be done. And it's one of those things. It's like, okay, well, are they like under the gun? You know, do they have a date set, and are they trying to get ready, you know, for that, or are they trying to get it ready, or are they trying to get it right? And see, my thing is, I would rather have it right than just say have it ready. But yes, it is an honor, you know, in fact, to have that. But you don't want to be trending for something like this.
Okay. And what do you mean by that?
I mean, because the reaction when you put them side by side, it's like that doesn't look like. I mean, I'm sorry, but he looks like a Shaolin monk. I mean,
No.
I expect him to have a staff or something. And you know, I'm just saying that you know, again, if you don't get it right, you can make it right. And I would think that the artist would want to. Okay, I need to go back and I need to fix this. You know, and so, but I mean, that's just me.
WWID, what would I do in this situation? Honestly, if they made a statue by me and it didn't look like me, but the thing is, wasn't he with them while they were making the statue? So what went left?
Yeah, well, I don't see. Okay, all right. So sometimes we have a problem with being honest with people and just telling them, you know, because we don't want to hurt their feelings. You know, in fact, to put a lot of work in it. And me, in fact, myself being someone who is a creative person and I've worked with people on several projects, what I've learned to do is instead of throwing my full weight behind and getting 90% of the way and showing it to them, then they come back and they mark it all up and they want to tear it all up and change everything. I said, okay, look, okay, here's 30%. How does that look? Okay.
Yeah.
And so then we work towards a common goal. But if you want to have this big unveiling and the person hadn't really signed off on it, you could have a situation like this. And so if it was me, I would definitely want to make sure that I thought that statue represented me, that it looked like me, that the facial features especially were reflective of who I am. And I mean, honestly, I just don't see it. And I know a lot of people don't. And that's why it is current. Because when you mentioned it, of course, I started laughing because I've been seeing so many memes and so many comments and stuff on it. And so I would want to have worked with the sculptor and made sure that we were on point for it, because it's not just about me, but it's about the sculptor too. It's his reputation. Because I mean, who else would? I don't want him to do my stuff if that's what he did to him.
Right.
So it's like it has to be a win-win for both people.
And I'm going to interesting take with this next one.
Okay.
WWJD, what would Jesus do? Well, how many Jesuses you done seen? They got the white one, they have the black one, they have the I'm sure there's an Asian one somewhere. I might Google
Yep.
it later.
Yep. I've
They
seen it.
have, just going off of what they have, a gay Jesus. They have a what's another one? A passive Jesus, where he was very passive and very so their representation is everything. That's where I'm going with this one. And
Right.
so the statue represents him in a way where I think he's more so caught up in what it represents
Mhm.
than versus how it looks. And so I think that's how he's looking at it. And like you said too, which was another point you added, where you said sometimes we don't want to hurt people's feelings. And so maybe that's what it was too. Or maybe it was going the right direction and then last minute it just went left.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Y'all comment, because there's a lot of people tuning in this today. Y'all comment and let me know what y'all think about that. But I think more so he was just maybe happy to see good representation. I don't know. He's just happy about that. And the fact that a place where he started at, got his start at, is giving him the love and, giving him his flowers while he's alive, even if the flower.
Even if the flowers wilted.
Even if the flower. Yeah, that's right. So what should men do in this situation? So I'm gonna get that one to you first. What do you think men should do in a situation where maybe you got a representation and it was a little off? It was the goal is to uplift, to give you your flowers, but then the way it comes out is a little off. It's not exactly right. Then how would you feel about that? Would you just kind of be like, well, the intent was good and the overall is good, but it's still not quite right?
Well, I would, again, because I would not want to be a laughing stock. And what I mean by that is, because kids are going to come up there and kids are going to see it. And, I would want some sort of correction made, and I'm sure the whole statue, in fact, doesn't have to be, in fact, redone. I'm sure he could just in the remodel, the actual face and put it on there. But I would definitely want, in fact, representation that looked like me,
Right.
because it's important. Can you imagine your children or grandchildren walking through? That's not granddad. Who is that? So you at least want it to look like you, to the point to where those who know you can recognize it. And again, something that you want to be proud of. And so even if I was the artist, I would just want to go in and, all right, look, let's just fix this. I mean, and to me, it's an opportunity, in fact, to show that we can, again, if we don't get it right, we can make it right. And that's what I think a lot of people are missing today, is the fact that, okay, they may not have gotten it right the first time, but are they willing to make it right? Some people, they just throw up their hand. Well, that's it. That's all you get. But then who else is going to call on you? Who else is going to ask you to do anything for them? Because if you take that attitude with your last client, what are you going to do for mine? But if you were able to make it right and able to show your humanity in the process, I think people, to me, that's a win-win, because you have an opportunity to use it as an object lesson to help somebody else know, hey, look, you can make a mistake, you can make a public blunder, but still you can fix it and you can get it right.
I like that, and we're gonna end it with that one. Like, if you make a public plunder, there's still time to get it right, for sure, for sure. Okay, all right, good stuff. So before we go, like I said, this week's episode, y'all, want y'all to tune into that. We got more people on, so I can say it again. This week's episode, I will give this one is about 85% of the things that we think about or we fear don't even happen. So if you are a person who struggles with fear or struggles with overthinking and worrying about your future and coming up with the worst case scenario, which is actually demonic, we'll get into that in the episode. Check that out. Also, I'll be giving our happy hour segment. I'll be commenting on Halloween and my Halloween terror that happened last Halloween. So yeah. Anything else you want to plug or say before we go today?
Well, I just want to encourage all of the listeners to get to know you. I tell people all the time that you need to value your value and see what value your value brings. So take the opportunity to spend some time getting to know who you are and what you bring to the table, because that will settle a lot of issues. It will stop a lot of fights, a lot of arguments, stop a lot of back and forth. When you know who you are, like I said, nothing can stop you. But until you know who you are, anything can. Any comment, any post can stop you in your tracks. But when you know who you are, you have the power to make the direction that you want to go in your life. But until you do, anybody can come up to you and label you and tell you do this or do that. And because you don't know who you are, you'll follow them. So my encouragement is for you to get to know yourself.
All right, good stuff. And that is all. We got one more comment I'm gonna read before we go today. I'll just say clap. Okay, good. They were celebrating what you said. All right.
Cool.
Good stuff. All right, y'all. So that's all. Thank you for joining me this evening. And this is going to be on YouTube and put on Spotify and Apple, the audio, hopefully sometime in the morning. PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are. Make your mind up and don't let it make you. And remember, I love us for real.